Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday. Welcome to episode 540 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, where tonight I'm going to give my thoughts on a film I watched last night with the wife called Boy Kills World. This was a film nominated at this year's Raven Awards for Best Stunt Team. And let me just say, I am so incredibly happy that it was nominated and that we'll get to talk about that film tonight. We'll also talk about the Royal Rumble. Not usually a topic that we talk about on this channel, but as it is a part of general media and television and things of that sort, we will talk about it. I'll give my thoughts on the Royal Rumble from this year. And other than that, mostly open forum discussion on all the different various topics that you wish to talk to that does not have to exclusively be about movies or box office. Figured we would have, a bit more of a chill stream in that regard. Sorry, I was maybe a minute or two late as it was, let's just say one of my laptops just stopped working. Not even blue screen of death. Like, it was a random green screen of death. I'd never seen this before. Something about the boot not working or something in that regard. I tried updating the BIOS. It didn't work. None of the steps that were put forward worked in any way. And so now I'm in the process of taking it apart, and that took longer because every single screw needs a different screw head, and two of the screws might actually have been stripped. And I'm trying to detach the battery with the hope that that might be able to kind of reset things, as I know that sometimes can help with the BIOS issues. So we'll find out whether or not that works or not later. Hopefully I'll be able to get that fixed tonight. If not, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. At that point, it becomes just a very expensive paperweight at that point. But that's just the life of what we have going on here. And also, we are getting ready for MegaCon. That's right. This weekend is MegaCon in Orlando, and I just booked my hotel. And I will, right now, everything is on pace for me to be down in Orlando, driving in sometime around maybe 10 p.m. or so Friday evening, and then being able to get down to the MegaCon event itself on Saturday and spend some time with you good folks who are going down there. If you actually are going down there for MegaCon this year, please let me know in the chat. And then we, of course, have our massive meetup event at the Red Coconut in Universal Center. So it should be a pretty good time. The fact that we've already had hundreds of people RSVP, it's looking like this year will be much more attended than last year. And last year's numbers were pretty amazing in and of themselves. So looking forward to it. Trying to make as many rosaries as I can, so that way I have some rosaries to give away when I am there. And let me know if you plan on going. But let's head over into the chat to say hello to the people. Before I do, though, smash the like button. Live the fire button over in Aussie. Smash the rumble button as well. Let's say who are the first people here. We had Snorpoopus Cuber, who was here earlier at 6:58, saying, "Hello, humans and other quitters." What's going on, Snorpoopus? Welcome back. Hello to you. Mrs. Wingster saying, "Hello, honey. I missed you so much. Aha. You're so funny. You're just so funny." Petrol is once again in the chat. Then it's Splita saying, "Hello, Odin from here, 7:32 p.m. Eastern Time." The R saying, "Restore the Snyderverse." No, let's not do that. Let's not do that, please. Jimmy A, who is a member, hail Odin in chat. Hail to you. Thanks for being a member here on the channel. Yeah, apparently there were Grammys last night, and I'm happy to say that I had no actual participation or even interest in watching it or catching up on it. So I've seen a few things here and there in my feeds, but it looks like it was a complete nonsensical woke fest. And if we've learned anything from the recent voting and conversations at the DNC meeting, the winter DNC meeting, the crazy is going to continue on. And man, oh man, we are living in crazy times, but we do have the Modern Major General Laura Shorty Short Story hanging out here, so appreciate you being here as always, saying, ooh, open forum, ooh, yes indeed. Make sure to keep your questions appropriate, PG. Shorty Short saying, hail. Forever Sci-Fi is a member here on the channel saying, hail as well. Hail to you, good sir. We also got JS Pena saying, ahoy. Ahoy to you, JS Pena. Appreciate you. Keely Chow in the chat, what is going on? It is also today the feast of St. Blaise. So the blessing of the throats is given today. Unfortunately, there is not a traditional mass that I was able to get to in my area, and so I was not able to do so. But with some of these blessings, you can still do some version of the blessing in your home. So as the head of the household, I am able to bless my children. I'm able to bless my wife. But my son, he very much wanted to be a part of the blessing as well. So it was actually it was a pretty cute thing. I was able to read the words back to him, and he actually gave me the blessing. So again, whether it's efficacious or not, I don't know. It was still a beautiful moment, and I'm never going to tear down that chance for him to have shown that interest in actually going through with that. So anyway, fun little cute little family moment from this evening. Keela Chow, of course, hanging out, telling everybody, yes, indeed, don't curse. We got Gary, the Banjo Sandwich Worthington, saying, hail the Banjo, 50% nation. Oh, please. Oh, please. Let's not hail the 50% nation. Banjo Sandwich Worthington, my mortal enemy, over on Criticless. Shout out to the Criticless fam, by the way. If you've not joined over there, you need to. You're missing out on quite a bit. On quite a bit of things, I shall say. The man with the orange hat saying here, I'm here to chew bubblegum and use my axe. But hey, folks, also Odin, They Live is getting a re-release on VHS in the UK. Didn't know they still did VHS. Yeah, I know that there's been some VHS releases of movies. I think it's mostly for collectors, right? To be something that you put on your shelf. They do still have, of course, working VHS players. I just don't think they're as common. But yeah. Jess Pena, by the way, when does voting end again? End of February. So really you have the entire month of February to get your votes in. So continue to vote. Let's see. Icthulu hanging out saying, happy Monday. Wish you all well. And don't take Groundhog's Day as anything more than an evil pagan celebration that undermines God's teachings. I'd rather just take it as, Groundhog Day film watch party. That's a fun thing and fun way to handle this. And, yeah, you know what? It is kind of funny to think, look at this little groundhog here. That's kind of how I handle it. It's like, Master of Gaming, hail to you. The R tagging to say, hail. What's going on? Keely Chow saying, how are you, Thor Freya, Baby Sif, doing? Everyone is doing swimmingly. So, thank you for asking. I do definitely appreciate it quite a bit. Super Anime Gamer saying, hey, what is up, my dude? What is going on? Super. Always glad to have you here in the chats with us. Geek Truth 64 hanging out. What's going on, Geek Truth? Saying, did Mr. Feeney show up at Boy Kills World? Nope. Everyone was thinking it, though. Everyone was thinking it when they named the film Boy Kills World. It must have been Boy Meets World. Nope. No connection to that universe whatsoever, but a fun time. Mr. Roy saying, hello. What's going on, Mr. Roy? Welcome back. Kimberly G. Killian Shadowcat. What's going on, Kimberly G? Saying, hello, everyone. Hello to you. King Kane Rumsky. Did Santino Morella win the Royal Rumble? No, he did not. King Kane Rumsky, in fact, he wasn't even in it. Wendy Hunter. Wendy. Odin in chat. Hello. What's going on, Wendy? Glad to have you here. Hope you're feeling better. Thanatos Blizzard saying, do you need a fat priest and skinny one for the exorcism? I need an old priest and a young priest. Mr. Gary saying, we here expect a wave on the MegaCon live stream. A wave on the MegaCon live stream. So do you mean from the live stream of the panel discussion? Because I'll do my best to be there, but unfortunately, to get a wave in. But obviously, it's focused on the panel members, and I'm never put on those panels. It makes me sad sometimes. But, again, totally understand why. Icthulu, Boy Kills Boy. Boy Kills World is an excellent band, and Civil Sin, I know what you're trying to say there. And Civil Sin is an awesome song. Oh, wait. Interesting. Geek Truth saying, I'll be at MegaCon. Looking forward to seeing you there. Dude, Geek Truth 64 in the house. Can't wait to meet you, man. Cannot wait to meet you. Are you going to bring any movies with you? That's the real question. Do you always come packing when you are going to events like that? With movies, of course. Hardwick, do you agree with my assessment that Boy Kills World is well acted but horribly written? I do not agree with that assessment whatsoever. I think that it is definitely an insane plot, but I would actually argue, and my wife would also argue, that it is actually pretty well written. Keep in mind, okay, that the story is not meant to be a serious tale. It's not meant to be a drama, right? They play this thing as this very weird, quirky, unique, almost genre-breaking movie where it's got the martial arts element to it, it's got the training montage, but then it throws in a lot of things that turn it on its head and brings about this quirkiness. And it's the quirkiness of the movie that I love from the very beginning. This also might be, and that's why I would say there's definitely some issues we could point to. I think that the kind of the data dump that they give at the end when a lot of things are revealed and explained goes on a bit too long. I think that they shouldn't have done it as much of what they were doing in that moment as they did. Maybe breaking it up a little bit more would have helped a little bit with editing. I think that you could have probably also have cut a little bit of time out from that sequencing as well. But still, I thought that it was a very interesting twist. I thought that it definitely raised the stakes in many ways. And really, the writing itself is just elevated by the performances, both of the stunt teams and also of the actors on screen. Bill Skarsgård especially deserves praise because that dude, for not having any actual lines of dialogue himself, was able to do quite a lot with just his eyes, with just his emotions. And so you have to take everything into account. I really enjoy the world building that they bring about in the film also. If any criticisms exist for me, it would be more so that there are some moments where the gratuitous violence is just a tad too gratuitous. There's a moment with a cheese grater. I'll just leave it at that, which I found entertaining. And that's the other thing, too, is that it is meant to be entertaining. The thing I'd forgotten when I was just going on my spiel there was from the very beginning when we get the voiceover, okay? And when it's later explained why that voiceover exists. Brilliant writing in that moment. I thought that was amazing to have happen. And it's a wonderful justification for everything that we are experiencing in the movie. But the fact that they cast the actor who also played the can of vegetables in Wet Hot American Summer was brilliant to me. Because as soon as I heard that voice, I thought, okay, I know now exactly what kind of movie this is going to be. It's going to be quirky, it's going to be weird, and it's going to be comedic. I would actually say that this is a dark comedy in many respects. Mrs. Wingster, Odin, do people still think I'm your wife because it'd be okay? No, it's not okay, but I don't think they do. Mother Forget saying, Odin, love the Royal Rumble. It was great to see the return of Alexa Bliss and Joe Hendry showing up for the Rumble. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think that the Women's Rumble was easily better than the Men's Rumble, which is never happens. Almost never happens. But even in both, I thought that there were issues. Again, we'll go into further details on that as we go along. But right off the bat, Charlotte Flair as winning the Women's Royal Rumble, to me, is just very boring, very uninspired. And it's like, of course you're going to give it to a Flair. That's just, again, to me, we've seen her at the top for so long, so many times. It's boring now. And her character is the same. Her character has not changed. And yes, she's a very talented athlete and talented in the ring, but a lot of us are over it. We're kind of done with it. The Men's Rumble was okay, but they didn't really have too many big surprises, which made me very sad. And then the only surprise really was at the very end when they started to unceremoniously, and this could easily have been the way that they shot it, unceremoniously getting rid of and having drop and having get thrown over the top rope wrestlers that are big names and deserved a lot better than what they got. And I mean, the last point I would say before, obviously we'll spend more time on this later, but Jey Uso, I mean, look, I understand he's obviously over with the fans. People are clearly all about that whole yeet nonsense that he has going on. But to me, all I can see when I see Jey Uso is, so this is the new generation's version of John Cena, where it's okay, it's a really bad, annoying gimmick that just makes a lot of people really happy, and a lot of people seem to like it, but it's about a guy who's clearly out of shape, who clearly has, issues on the mic, to say the least. and is the most unrealistic type of person to be in the actual main event. He's not a top guy. He's not a main event guy. And that's not a knock against his personality. It's more of a, I'm sorry, he has not earned it in the same way that you saw the likes of a Daniel Bryan being able to earn it, specifically by showing in the ring what he can do. There's nothing special or unique about Jey Uso's in-ring abilities. Even as a tag team, he would have been he's a middling tag team. I know that people like to elevate the Usos as one of the greatest tag teams ever, but just because your company is gifting you various title runs because of who you know and who your family is, doesn't mean that you are then ipso facto good in the ring. So I was not as much of a fan of it. What we can all agree with, I hope to say we can all agree with, is that the Kevin Owens match, the Kevin Owens Brody match was phenomenal. Best match of the night. Easily just a great throw ride, great storytelling, everything that you want a wrestling match like that to be. It had it in spades, and it was great. Alistair Kai saying, Odin, how's it going? Was going to go to MegaCon, but certain factors happened, but hopefully I'll be at the 2026 one. Yeah, dude, I know that obviously you're still dealing with, getting healthy, and so you definitely don't want to push it too much. So sad that you won't be there, but yeah, absolutely looking forward to seeing you in 2026, man. Let's see. Mrs. Wingster is talking to Jimmy in that in that instance. Abomination get over on Odyssey. What's going on, brother? Thanks for being here. Jeremy Zakowski. Odin says, "Laptop mad, laptop smash." I really do. I really do. In many ways, want to smash it because it was working perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden gives the green screen at death and says something wrong with the bootload, and some nonsense is the first thing that pops up about how it wasn't able to read some Delta file. I don't know if there's any computer people out there, but if anyone knows what that means, if it says error cannot read Delta file or something like that, please let me know. Mrs. Wingster, speaking of religion, I rewatched Prince of Egypt recently. Still a phenomenal movie and one of my personal favorites. I would agree completely. It's a beautifully animated movie. The voice acting's solid. Look up the voice acting cast for that movie, and you're like, whoa, had no idea. You got Steve Martin and Martin Short playing the so-called priest who can do, quote, magic, doing a brilliant job by the power of Ra. They're so much fun. And then, of course, you've got Val Kilmer as the voice of Moses, singing actually pretty well. You got Ray Fiennes as the voice of Ramses. It's great. Master of Gaming, do you think the Oscars will rescind Carla Sofia Gascon, that dude's nominations due to controversial tweets resurfacing? I mean, if I had to guess, I would say probably not. What I'm more interested in is, do they actually go through with what was clearly their plan, which was to have it win some of the most nominations, not just to have those the most nominations of a foreign language movie, almost the most nominations of any film, right? In the top 5 as far as total nominations go at the Oscars, which is just insane to think about. The fact that it also got nominated, keep in mind that the Oscar nominations we're talking about here include 2 for song. 2 of the garbage songs from that musical got nominated for Oscars. Now, the Oscars have been a joke forever, and that's why we have our Raven Awards. Shout out to the Raven Awards. Get your votes in, OMBReviews.com. if you want more access and information about it. But, man, honestly, I don't think that they will, and I do think that there's a stronger chance that the film does not sweep, the film does not do well down ballot, but that they still give it to him for simply the personal statement. I could see them doing that, especially after everything we saw at the DNC. And we all know Hollywood and the DNC are essentially just different wings of the same building, different offices in the same building. R2 saying F2, February 2nd was Candlemas, not some rodent day. That was yesterday. So yes, it was indeed Candlemas. It's also the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Again, different names by that name, but yes, it is indeed. It was Candlemas. Geek True 64 saying there was a limited release VHS of Alien Romulus. I remember that. It was pretty expensive and still sold out immediately, and that's just insane. I think it's cool when they do special releases like that, but I hate when they overprice. Remember Sci-Fi, I finally bought Wild Robot on 4K, got Aladdin on 4K as well. I don't think Disney will ever get back to making great movies like they did in the late 80s or early 90s. I definitely would agree. I do still think we're getting some pretty good films from animation studios in a general sense, not from Disney, but I just have to put out there, Wild Robot is a phenomenal movie. It is a great film. And one of my favorite animated films from this year, it's between this and Wild Robot, is the movie Flow, which was done independently, is a foreign language release, even though there's no actual talking in the movie. It's from a foreign country. So I guess it goes under that international release category there. And it's a bunch of animals. But the animation is just really beautiful and simplistic. It works. It's very effective. It conveys the emotions of these animals. And that film was only made for about $3.5 million. So luckily, we are still getting some pretty good animation. It's just not from a lot of the mainstream studios. And it's in very unique circumstances. Rob D. Odin, I watched movies this weekend. I watched Bike Riders, Civil War, Godzilla X Kong, New Empire, and New Part 2. Well, at least a couple of those films I think were well worth your time. The other ones, not so much. But yeah, Bike Riders, underrated film. Really like it. One of my top 5 films of the year. And Civil War, very solid movie as well. I think got way too much hate, unnecessary hate from a lot of people that kind of just read into it whatever they wanted to. Hardwick, speaking of Groundhog Day, have you seen the trailer for Until Dawn? It's a time loop horror based on a video game. It looks potentially good. Have not, because I don't really care about horror all that much, and so I usually stay away from them in general, but always cool to have that concept brought forward in different ways. Keely Chow, always leaving early. I never know why. Caveat ties, Odin needs a cheese lesser. A cheese lesser? What? Hardwick, as soon as the character with the helmet showed up, I immediately knew who that would be. The twist was extremely obvious. Oh, good for you, Hardwick. You're just so smart. You're just so smart. Oh, you're just so smart. Yes, you are. You're just so smart. I hate when people do that. I knew the twist right away because I'm just so smart. Good for you. I would say most people watching the film were just sitting back enjoying it and said, oh, this is a cool character. Oh, I kind of like how they've done this with the helmet and all that jazz. Jimmy A., I will always be a straight guy and be purely attracted to women, but even I can admit Bill Skarsgård is objectively a very handsome man. Actually, to be honest, I would not say that at all. I think that he looks a bit weird, but he gets jacked, dude. He definitely gets jacked. Mrs. Wingster, do you have a favorite Royal Rumble? Oh, man, that's a good question. I honestly can't think of one off the top of my head. That's one of the issues when it comes up to concepts like that. So, let's see, best Royal Rumbles of all time. Let's see what they say. There's a lot of Rumbles that are probably better that I just don't remember from the 90s especially. Let's see. They mentioned the 2018 one because Braun Strowman set a record. I don't care much about that. John Cena's return. Don't care much about that. I don't want to look at Den of Geek's article because Den of Geek is just disgusting. What Culture used to be really good. Unfortunately, they've definitely gone down quite a bit over the years. But oh man, and they've got a post where they're going. You can actually go through and see all of their picks, but you have to go through individually for every single one. And instead of being like, well, you know what, maybe I just want to actually, pick which one I want to actually go through. So I'm not going to do that. I can say one of the worst ones is number 40 because that's when Roman Reigns won him in 2015, and The Rock came out and picked his hand up and then gave the weird look because he was like, "Wait, why are they booing him? I was supposed to be here to crown this guy." So yeah, again, my brain is not in a position to come up with any information like that. So Jimmy A says, if Mrs. Wingster is not your wife, then why did I catch the two of you sitting on a swing with ice cream? Geek True 64. I have a Plex server set up for traveling. I have a few things on there. I don't bring disc traveling anymore, but I do buy disc when traveling. Nice. Very nice. Yeah, dude. I love my Plex server. It's great. I had a random issue with it, and I had to luckily, I was able to finally figure out exactly what was wrong with it. But yeah, it's a good shout, man. It's a good shout to access something like that. That's the one thing I wish that they had a bit more of at MegaCon and a lot of these events is more things with film specifically. Like if there was like a classic film booth with not necessarily like memorabilia, but like collector's editions or I don't know, something like that. I don't know. I feel like that there could be doing a lot more with it. Wendy Hunter saying the last Royal Rumble let me down, so I didn't watch this last one. Yeah, I don't blame you. They go through peaks and valleys, right? They go through highs and lows, and there's been some really bad ones. There's been some good ones. I honestly cannot remember the last Royal Rumble, though, where I was actually like really, really happy with the winner and the entirety of the match, because there's been some where maybe I've liked the winner, but the rest of the match was not that good. So, yeah. Mac, Joe Henry. I honestly don't know as much about Joe Henry. I just know of him and how he got famous, basically. I was devastated that Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan lost as Alice McCarthy. I was actually devastated by how they did. If I'm not mistaken, weren't they a part of that giant cluster towards the end where they just unceremoniously got eliminated? Maybe that happened to one of them, but that was a huge problem. They were trying to, I think, create a situation where Nia Jax was going to get like the most, or someone else was going to get the most eliminations at the same time. And it was very contrived. It looked awful. And yeah, those are two people that should have been in towards the very end. I mean, Liv Morgan has been at the top of the ticket, has been at the top of the conversations for much of the year. There's no reason for her to not continue to be. That makes no sense for her not to. And then Alexa Bliss coming back after all that speculation, she is a fan favorite. How do you not have her in at least the final two? That to me is ridiculous. The only reason why they would not have her there is because if they had her in the final two, and if it was her versus Charlotte, and they still wanted to have Charlotte win the dang thing, they know that it would have gotten Charlotte heel heat, because the fans, the biggest pop of the night was the Alexa Bliss return. Nobody cared that Charlotte returned for the most part. I guess she got a good pop, but not to the same degree. And a lot of those, returns really were not that exciting. Justin C., hail to you. Happy to be a part of tonight's stream. Glad to have you here. Appreciate it. Virtual Reality Fitness is hanging out as well. A Goat 1971 saying, how do you think President Trump is doing in the first 2 weeks? Do you enjoy his bullying of male feminists and a wonderful example of people kind Trudeau as much as I do? It is open forum. I do try to avoid politics as much as I can, even on open forums, though, just because of, important reasons that I think are apparent to anyone who knows me. But do I think that there's been a lot of really good things that have happened? I do. Do I think that there's other things that I'm not as much of a fan of? Yes. For instance, there was a strike on targets in Somalia. And though the reporting is that it was done in conjunction with working with approval of the Somali government, I have issues with us making strikes in foreign nations when we are not at war. I know that we're getting bad guys, but I'm sorry. Why are we there in the first place? Why are we not getting out of these places and just saying, you deal with it, let's focus on ourselves? That's always been my view. I'm a very anti-war guy. I'm a very, pacifistic person, but it's also more so about, okay, well, before we can take care of anyone else, I think that we should definitely take care of ourselves. Keaton, what's going on, Keaton? Saying, did you hear Megan 2.0 got teased at the Grammys? I did not, because I did not care about anything related to the Grammys. Abomination saying, sounds like you got a Windows virus. It's a very common virus masquerading as an operating system. Oh, Abomination. I'm hoping that you're going to say that you're a Linux guy and not a Mac guy, because if you're a Mac guy, then you can just shut your Jimmy A. The whole Emilia Perez situation is proof the past can come back to haunt you. It is. It is, but it's also, to me, proof of just how performative it all is. The fact that you have that guy saying the things that he was saying only just a few years later to then come out as trans and then to be in a movie that ends up getting 13 Oscar nominations, including for him, and actually putting him in a category with actual biological women and you know, people being expected to call him a best actress is insane. And to me just speaks to the novelty of all of this and just how broken Hollywood and our current culture are to varying degrees. Forever Sci-Fi saying, Joe Biden getting a job at the creative arts agency in Hollywood is such a 2025 thing. Jose Taco, what is going on? Wendy Hunter saying, my boyfriend's pastor told him not to watch Wild Robot because he hunts geese. With that in mind, would you recommend I watch it? Why? Wait a minute. Told pastor's boyfriend not to watch the Wild Robot because he hunts geese. I don't see why that's... Was that him telling like a joke? Because it happens to be about geese and goslings and stuff? I think it's absolutely worth a watch. I would absolutely recommend that you and him watch it. It's a great date night movie, I think. And what really the power of The Wild Robot is that it speaks to what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a parent. There's a lot of very fun jokes in there that parents are going to get that kids are not. There's moments where, for instance, you know, the character of Roz, this robot that takes on this task of having to take care of and raise this small gosling, mentions something about her parts not working the same anymore and things like that. And just like, okay, that is, it captures that spirit. And because of that, I think it's something that a lot of people will enjoy, are enjoying, and it's, to me, sad that the box office for it really just hasn't been there. Mrs. Wingster, I knew Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Yeah, I hate those people. It's like, seriously? Come on. King and Rumsky saying, any girl bosses in Boy Kills World. So there is a strong female character who's a great fighter. I'm sure there are some people that would describe her as a girl boss, but even so, I think enough stuff happens to where she is clearly not impervious to damage, that she is not impervious to defeat, and it's really not played to be like that. It's not played as a, oh, look, it's a woman, and oh, look, it's this or that. To me, it's more of a, oh, look, here's a badass femme fatale type character. To me, it's more of a femme fatale than it is, girl bossy. Caveat ties, cheese lesser as opposed to a cheese grater. Bad pun. Ah, I see what you mean there now. Let's see. Hardwick saying, I watched Strange Darling on Friday. It was excellent. Gorgeous cinematography, a beautiful soundtrack, clever writing, and an astoundingly good performance from Willa Fitzgerald. Again, thank you for watching it. I agree. It deserves so much more love than it's getting, especially at the Ravens. If you've not seen Strange Darling, watch it. And hopefully it changes your mind about what you think the best picture of the year is. I'll give you a spoiler. We're talking about best movies of the year. In reality, it's not Deadpool Wolverine. Okay? Let's be honest with ourselves, okay? Alex McCarthy saying, just turned on Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Paywall Raw to an absurd amount of yeets. I yelled, no yeet. Oh, goodness gracious. No, thank you. Mrs. Wingster, oh, this is your wife. Please remember to take out the trash tonight. Love you. We'll see if you actually were my wife, you'd know that the trash was already taken out. Orange Hat saying, are you looking forward to the conclusion of Cobra Kai? That cliffhanger was insane. It was insane. And yes, I am absolutely looking forward to it. Absolutely. It's one of those bittersweet things. I'm sad that the show is ending, but I do think it is ending at a good time. There are some that might argue it's already gone on a bit too long. But I don't mind it. I've liked to see the characters grow. I'd like to see the characters change. I like that because we've gone on for as long as we've had, we've been able to get in a lot of characters from all of the Karate Kid movies. Here's hoping that we get some type of Hilary Swank, either direct reference or even appearance, and to make it all complete for the Miyagi-verse. But yeah, I would say I'm definitely mostly looking forward to it. Geek364 saying, I've seen small Blu-ray seller booths at cons over the years, but I don't think that type of seller can afford the booth space at MegaCon. Dang, dude. That's just sad. The old guard, what's up, bro? WWE is not what it used to be. It is not. It was moving in a really strong direction. I do think that it is much better under Triple H. Triple H has been, I think, a really good at booking most things. It's a very good creative mind and eye for talent. He's able to really bring the best out of people. But I think what last night showed to me was that there are also still clearly a lot of cooks in the kitchen behind the scenes. And I would not be surprised if Dwayne, if The Rock had a huge part about why Jay is the one that won the Rumble. It would not surprise me if that ever came out to be the case. But no, even so, even though it is definitely a lot better with Triple H behind the helm, I do think that there are a lot of things to say in that regard. Forever Sci-Fi saying, last time I watched wrestling was as a kid in the 80s, and guys like Hogan, Andre the Giant, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, had way more personality than guys like Cena or Rock. I'm going to push back on Rock. Rock has a lot of personality in his heyday. The Rock in his heyday, people like Stone Cold Steve Austin in their heyday, I would actually put them above other. Andre, let's be honest, dude. Andre was a big guy, and I love him a lot, and I love him in Princess Bride. But as far as personality goes, no, it's hard to touch Rock in his prime. Even more so to touch Stone Cold in his prime. One of the greatest at all time. Master Gamer, do you think Minecraft movie will make $1 billion worldwide? I do not. I think it has a higher chance of being a giant flop. Because let's be honest here, what Minecraft fan is going to look at that trailer and think, yep, that's what I want to see? No one. And then what adult who's a normie is going to look to that and say, oh yeah, I want my kids to watch that. I'm not saying that it's going to lose, guaranteed to be a massive flop, but it's getting there. Hardwick, what did you think of Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey's Sunday breakfast in Strange Darling? That whole scene was very interesting. I've only seen the film once. I need to watch it again. But yes. Cthulhu, I had to laugh that Vince McMahon's wife is now the education secretary. No, I mean, think about it. Like, she's actually been involved she was in the 2016 administration. So it's very fun to see her now in these other ones, It's funny to see the pictures and the videos, like when he won and was going up for his victory and he had all of his team behind him, and all of a sudden you see Linda McMahon, and all I can think about are the moments from back in the heyday, like when she was in the comatose state. Man, talk about a throwback, the comatose state that she was in. Oh man. So, all right, let's just jump officially then into one of our first things to talk about tonight, which is officially to speak about a couple of movies / shows. And so the first one is a movie called Boy Kills World. So this is a film back from 2024. This is a movie that got a lot of attention from people in our space. People spoke to it quite highly. I feel like I remember hearing a lot of positive things being said. And this is a movie that was directed by Moritz Moore and stars Bill Skarsgård, Jessica Roth, H. John Benjamin, who to me makes the movie what it is as far as the quirkiness factor. Michelle Dockery is in this as well. Brent Gelman is in this. Sharlto Copley is in the film. I totally did not recognize Sharlto Copley. So that was really cool to see. And then you even got Famke Janssen in the movie too. So you've got a really great cast, and I think all of them do their job well. Bill Skarsgård to me is one of the standouts. He doesn't have any spoken lines in the movie, and yet he conveys so much emotion from every action that he does, for all the different things that he is able to carry out and bring out. Overall, the audience over on Critic List, 78% rad score. So on the brink, on the cusp of most excellent. I gave it a 79. I don't think it's the most excellent because I do think there are a couple of moments in the violence that go a little bit too far. Especially there's one in the final fight sequence where there's like, let's just say, very visual cutting along certain limbs for way too long. Do you see that shot? And again, effects team, awesome that you were able to do that. But man, oh man, do not want to see that. That was very much bumping up against kind of the limits of what kind of gore I am comfortable with, or what kind of gore I can ultimately get through. But the fact that even, and this is where I think it speaks to how good this movie is, the fact that my wife, all right, the Lady Freya, Third or Nothing over on Critic List, shout out to the Lady Freya, that even she gave this movie a 75% rad score. And she hates violent movies. She hates dark storytelling. And she has no intention of watching this film again either. But she loved it, story-wise. She loved the story. She is obsessed with novels. She's obsessed with narrative structure. And so she loved this movie. She basically was like, after the fact, man, I wish that this was in some type of novelized, she was asking initially, like, okay, what's this based off of anything? Because she just wanted to go straight into like reading source material on this. And I told her, hey, based off of everything we saw in the credits, it doesn't look like that it was based on anything. And obviously, correct me if I'm wrong there. And hey, you never know. Maybe they can do a novelization of it one day, or a graphic. As she said, probably they would do a graphic novel if most likely was the case. But hey, you never know. But that's how much she enjoyed it from the writing side of things. So if even she was enjoying this movie the way that she was, it's not often that we can agree on movies like this. Normally, it reminds me of a film like Nightcrawler. I love that film. She appreciates it for what it is, but hates it. This one, she actually liked the narrative. I also love the way she starts her review. It says, I did not voluntarily watch this movie. I accidentally ended up watching it because my husband saw the first part, thought it was funny and that I might like it. Then I got hooked by the plot and had to suffer through way too much violence to get to a resolution. So I hate violence. I hate violent movies. I hate gore. This was all of that, but completely unlike anything I've seen and like anything I've ever seen, and feels totally original. I believe the description said a fever dream action film, and that's exactly what you get. And yeah, that is exactly what you get with this movie. So if you like action movies, if you don't mind, gore, and there are, especially towards the end, a lot of gory, violent moments, and you just want a really fun, quirky film. It says action, adventure, thriller, crime. I think that doesn't do it justice. I would put this in a dark comedy category to many degrees as well. Quirky, to me, is, I think, a perfect representation of what it is. So Boy Kills World, great film, great acting, phenomenal stunts. So happy that I got nominated at the Ravens for that. And now that I've watched the film, I wish I could go back and nominate this in other categories, because I would put this, for me, I would put this up there in categories like Best Story. I would put this in categories like Best Fight Sequence. In other categories like Best One-Liners, because there's a few great one-liners and quotes in the movie. I would even probably nominate this for Best Picture too. It was really good. It's actually creeped into my top 10 best movies of the year list. That's how much I liked it and how much I enjoyed it. Can't say the same thing, but I did watch Flight Risk. It's fine. I gave it a rad score, but it is a mess. It is a narrative mess, but I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. And so as long as you know what you're getting yourself into, and that it's not objectively a great movie from a narrative standpoint, you're going to have a good time with it. Not the same can be said for the Royal Rumble, of which I gave a very generous 39% bogus score, and that's only because of that Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes match, which was phenomenally done. As you can see, most people actually liked it, so people gave this a rad score. I think that they are Jey Uso shills. And then you've got me in there, and then Alex McCarthy, the good man, gave it a 5% heinous score. A bit too low for me. I do think that Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes raised the element, raised and elevated the standard there to a very high degree. But overall, yeah, the ending to this reminded me why I do not watch wrestling anymore. Why I'm not a consistent watcher of wrestling. Why I don't consume the content in the same way or to the same degree as I once did. So I really, really hope that this is something that can somehow get rectified in the future. But Jey Uso in a WrestleMania main event, I'm sorry, that does not make any sense. And I can already hear the apologists saying, but he's already been feuding with Gunther, and so this is that ability to finish his story. But, oh, he's so over right now, and they want to strike while the iron is hot. It's like, look, I'm not saying that you're not going to get massive cheers, but in the grand scheme of the history of the WWE and the lineage of the championship, people are going to look back to say, wow, you actually made Jey Uso a champion. That's how it's going to be. Harvey saying, regarding the strike in Somalia, maybe President Trump sees ISIS as America's problem because it wouldn't exist without America funding it. Could be. Very well could be. But I think that it would be better to, again, get the heck out of those specific countries. I think until we've actually gotten all of our troops back and are focused almost solely on self-defense and preservation and only going after active threats, I don't think we can really do anything else and be justified, personally. Mrs. Wingster said, a man proving himself as a better actress than woman is based. Yeah, crazy. Abomination saying, I'm a Windows XP guy. Interesting. Forever Sci-Fi. But according to the movie, once you transition, all of your past crimes are forgiven. It was someone else who did that. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Jimmy A, they need to stop casting the same actor in every movie. There are more actors than just Liam Neeson, Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black, amongst many others. Caveat ties, even some of the salty nerd felt the need to call him they. It's so ingrained in us. Oh, yeah. Dude, I love Matthew Kadish. Mr. Kadish is a longtime friend here on the channel and a beautiful human being, someone that I am happy to call a friend and someone who I've always respected. But it was driving me nuts to hear that guy say her and she or any of the pronoun nonsense. So I had to call him out on that one. And I continued to. It's like, dude, no. He is a biological man. I don't care what he wants you to call him. If someone said, I want you to call me the King of England, and it does not actually fit and actually contort to reality, then I'm not going to do it. It's one thing if it's a family member who is like schizophrenic, who needs you to like agree and buy into their delusion to keep them safe. It's another when someone is not in that same situation, but is still asking you to seek to affirm them and to buy into their fantasy and to buy into the lie. Because that actually, in those cases, causes greater harm. Wendy Hunter saying, I think his pastor thought it would make him not want to hunt anymore. I mean, that's any animal movie, but I don't think that's going to happen because it's still an animated movie. It doesn't actually look like a real photorealistic goose. So I think that he'd still be okay. Harvey saying, I think Willa Fitzgerald should have had a Best Actress nomination. Dude, no, Hardwick, here's the thing. I think that when it comes to the Oscars, because I think that's what you're referring to, the Oscars shut out movies that were significantly better in many ways. I mean, I talk about these films a lot, but The Bike Riders deserved so many more nominations than any other film for most of the films that were nominated this year at the Oscars. Dee Dee, a great film that fits a lot of their... That's the other thing, too. A lot of the films that I enjoyed, in many ways, fit the different quirks that they like to support or their pet project causes kind of thing. And that they could easily get behind, that they could easily, push forward. But they decided not to. They also looked over a film like Strange Darling. Again, another film that they could have easily pushed forward in many ways. I mean, I looked at that film and said, wow, this has that same quirkiness factor that many critics will enjoy, but could also get some Oscars contention. But it didn't get any. It got completely overshadowed by significantly worse films or even overrated ones to boot. Ho is a Taco. Did you watch Flow? I did. Brilliant movie. I've seen it several times now because I actually watched it with my son a second time, and he enjoyed it so much that we've seen it a couple times since then. Really old movies. What's going on? Good sirs. Thanks up, everyone. Anyone else annoyed by the teaser for a trailer for F4. Why, is there a new trailer? I thought that it overall looked interesting. There's enough people involved that have me intrigued by it. Could be good. Mrs. Wings for 7 seasons is where many shows start to fall apart. It depends on the show, really. Some shows can fall apart much sooner than that, some much later. Steven, dude, Steven, it has been a while. How you been? Long time no see. Hope all is great. Ready for Ash Wednesday. You know what you giving up for 40 days yet? I mean, we're still a couple weeks away from Septuagesima, okay? So Septuagesima is not until the 23rd. So we still got some. Sorry, Septuagesima is not until the 16th. So still a couple weeks. So I have not made those plans yet. Next week, since that's the week that I'll be starting to cover Septuagesima with my students, that's probably going to be the week I also start to pinpoint some of those things that I want to actually do more of. One thing for sure is I got a couple of really awesome books that deal with kind of liturgy of the home stuff. It gives recommendations on different activities you can do on certain feast days. So, for instance, this is what, kind of inspired me to start baking things. So I made, pumpkin bread, or as I like to call it pumpkin cake is what I made. And that was really cool to incorporate that as a kind of an adaptation of something from the book. And I actually, for the first time, made, they were called Irish scones. They looked more like biscuits, like a traditional Southern biscuit, not as like buttery and stuff like that, because that's just not what the recipe was called for. But the fact that I can now say that I've made Irish scones is kind of insane. And they're not half bad. They were a little dry, and obviously it was my first time doing that, but it was good. Whereas I'd rather show go out on top than slowly fade away like The Simpsons. Went from a cultural phenomenon to, that's still on? Yeah, I agree. Steven, my favorite Royal Rumble is 2001 Attitude Era Superstar coming all together and Stone Cold winning. That's a good one. Yeah, I definitely think that's a good one. Stone Cold winning in general is always good. Anything that has a surprise ending, but a good one, that's the one that I enjoy. The other issue with this one from this year is that it, from the very beginning, had issues. I mean, dude, when Penta botched his spot where he got flipped over and you could clearly see both feet touch the ground, it was like, oh my gosh, how do you make a mistake like that? Hardwick saying here, I just found out that there's a teaser for the Fantastic Four. Oh, F4 was, okay, gotcha. I was, for some reason, thinking of the F1 movie. That's why that response I gave probably didn't make any sense at all. Teaser trailer for Fantasy 4 First Steps trailer, the full trailer. This is tomorrow. I hate the teasers for the teasers, man. It's crazy. Jimmy A, have you ever seen how demonic Jack Black is? He has prayed the devil on live TV, put demonic Easter eggs in the music, and played the devil in a movie. He is very concerning. Yeah, I mean, if I had to be honest, I would actually think he probably doesn't really buy into it per se. But that does not mean that his portrayals of it are any less worrying. So yeah, for sure. Jimmy A, have you ever seen how... Oh, wait, I already got that one. Steven, I'm in winter break now. Winter break? What do you mean winter break? It's February. I go back to college in 3 weeks. I'm curious, during your college days, did you go anywhere for fun for spring break? If so, where did you recommend? I'm back to single, so Vegas, definitely the worst place to go for something like that, because you're not going to meet the kinds of people that you want to meet if you're actually looking for a relationship. No, I am not a spring breaker in any way, because usually spring break coincided pretty closely to Easter. And so it was, no, this is not spring break. This is Easter break. And that is the reason for the season. Yeah, I never bought into the nonsense that was spring break. Not to mention I hate beaches, so there it is there. Geek 264 saying, great score for the Peanuts movie. Very underrated, unfortunately forgotten movie. I agree. My son loves it. My son fell in love with the Peanuts because of it. Because he really liked, Charlie Brown Christmas Special. But it wasn't until we showed him that actual version, he got really into it. And it is great. I mean, for the fact that it was made in 2015, and it is able to hold up so well and pay respect to the source material and still be able to do so much. Oh yeah, absolutely deserves so much praise. Hardwick, did you know that Sam Raimi is one of the producers of Boy Kills World? Yes, I saw his name in the credits. King and Rumsky saying, don't worry, something will happen to keep Jey Uso from WrestleMania title match. Do you think that's the case, King K and Rumsky? I've heard some people speculate that. But to be frank, I think he'll still be in it. If anything happens, it'll be a work, and it'll be to try to make you think they're trying to replace him, and then he'll come in. Imagine that, right? Imagine if it ends up being him versus Gunther, right? And then instead, you have Drew McIntyre brought into it for some reason. Right? There's a lot of heat going on because he apparently stormed out of the building angry. Who knows if that's true or if that's just a work. And then he's put into the match, and then all of a sudden, Jey Uso comes out and says, I won this, I earned this, and then overcomes. They try to make a fake Daniel Bryan type situation. But again, I don't think with the same legitimacy that they did in the case of Daniel Bryan. And then he overcomes both Gunther and, again, crazier things have happened, but it's going to be bad. Ms. Wingster, Odin, I think you're king. Odin, I am your king, and you will kneel. I'm sorry, but you're Mrs. Wingster, so that can't be the case. I was regarding the back. Parents had to flip me from my right side to left. Have to do that every few hours to avoid getting a pressure wound again, and spend several months in hospital after several surgeries. Oh, yeah. I've heard terrible things about these pressure wounds, dude, so yeah. Dan Crane, thank you for being a citizen of Asgard for 33 months in a row. Appreciate you. Victor Fontaine, yeah, Fantastic Four trailer dropping tomorrow, and Jurassic World Rebirth trailer drops on Wednesday. 2 films honestly, I don't care about. Hardaway, Baby Strange Darling didn't get Oscar noms because it does tick any agenda boxes. From a certain point of view, the story is pro-Second Amendment and anti-believe all women. Yeah, yes, it is, but it's also, you could argue, strong female woman. Maybe not as a good person, but still a strong female woman. And it also deals with that perversity that they likely are all connected to in some way, right? So that's honestly where I thought that it would probably drag some of them in, is because it deals with very, 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 very troubling and perverse concepts of intimacy. Not a very easy film to watch, but man, powerful. Excuse me. Alex McCarthy saying, Kaiser versus Penta on right now. Fun fact, Kaiser is dating Tiffany Stratton. I did not know that. Wow. That is interesting. But that should be a pretty good match, though. That should definitely be a pretty good match. Let's see. Steven saying, taking a break with relationships, so just want to have fun. That's why I say Vegas for spring break. Have you been to Vegas before? Also, do you think that you'll see Lesnar again WWE? You never know. I haven't seen there's a video out right now that kind of covers why Lesnar's in trouble with something. I don't know. I haven't been following that stuff. But what I will say is, so if you're taking a break from relationships, then you know what that means? That means be single. And by be single, that does not mean, oh, let me go out and try to philander around. You're not going to be happy from that. Any momentary joy that you might think you're experiencing is just going to be digging a hole that you'll have to dig out from later. So I would not recommend that at all. I would say take this as an opportunity to say, all right, God wants me to be single right now. Let me utilize this time wisely to work on myself, to find other outlets for my energy, and to try to build up on myself, to make myself a better person. That's where I would go with that. I would definitely not do Vegas. And I would definitely not think of it in I'm taking a break from relationships, so let me just go have fun. Again, I don't think that people realize the effects that can have on the person. Harwick, it doesn't portray those perverse concepts positively, though. That is true, but they are still there. And it's more so a lot of Oscar voters seem to enjoy those things, right? Think about The Substance doesn't portray their whole surgery and modifications positively either. In fact, it leads to a grotesque showing. But you know that there's a lot of voters in there saying, oh, we have to nominate this movie or these people because boobies. Same thing with Honora as well. I think it was the perversity that's presented in the movie that made a lot of people excited and therefore supported. That's what I think. Because that stuff can corrupt like no other. King and Remsky, first there was Expendables, And now there is Fantastic Quattro. I guess it's also just, you could argue, just another fan Forsic. Jimmy A, I can't find a relationship for anything. I'm not even bad-looking guy, just social anxiety from previous experiences, oddly personal, but all the relationship talk made me think of it. Yeah, dude. I'm sorry to hear that, but that's just the other thing too, is we have to think about vocations in life. Some people are made for vocations. Some people are made for relationships. Some people have that as a part of what is planned for them, but not everybody. Some people are called to the single life. Some people are called to religious life in different ways. So it's a good time, I think, to sit back and discern. Sometimes we try to speak too much, and instead of allowing ourselves to have moments of silence and moments of meditation, to think, okay, what is it that God wants for me? Not what I want for myself, but what God wants for me. What is best for me? What is for the good of my soul, my person? Let's see. Stephen, yes, I've been working on myself. Matter of fact, I lost 20 pounds in a month and closer getting my bachelor's degree. But yes, just wanted to let loose for a week, but understandable on your perspective. Yeah. Because again, letting loose, there's a lot of things that means. None of them are very good though, because it again shows that level of self-control going out the window. And anything that darkens the mind and darkens the intellect creates a lot of problems. Look to the works of Aquinas. He does a great job kind of expounding upon those thoughts and ideas. But hey, dude, congratulations on losing 20 pounds. That's awesome. And it's good to, again, work on yourself. But you can work on yourself and again, have fun, let loose. But you can still do that responsibly. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to fall into immorality, as it were. Steven, I'm curious, will you be reviewing Captain Falcon, I should say? I got tickets for it and then canceled it due to what the actor said, what Captain America doesn't represent America, which made me cancel. Yeah, oh man, man, I was fighting against some of the people on the Salty Saturday stream about this thing. That whole statement, in my opinion, is vastly overblown. When I heard the statement, and again, maybe I'm missing context here, but when I heard Anthony Mackie say what he did about Captain America, all I heard was an American actor speaking to a European audience who, when they hear the expression Captain America or American values, they are not going to either like that, understand it, or want to hear about it. And so for him to instead say, I want you to see my movie because I want your money too, let me speak more so to these other values separate of the concept of America, not as a way of trying to denigrate America, but rather as a way of trying to sell his movie to another country. He wasn't saying or implying that those things are separate from each other, that oh, I'm doing this because America doesn't represent these things. No. He was doing it to say, look, I could talk about America to you guys, but clearly that's not going to really get through to you. That's not going to mean anything to you. Keep in mind, a lot of people around the world do not like us very much, don't respect us. I think that the whole thing was vastly overblown, and most people in the world are not going to have heard about it or care about it. So again, as someone who does not want to see Captain Falcon, but I will be seeing Captain Falcon because it's going to be our homework for Friday Night Tights. So yes, I'm going to be seeing it, but I don't want to. Ms. Waster, I may be a troll, but I'm crying on the inside, craving love and attention. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a stable adult who likes to make people laugh, and I always appreciate it. You do make me laugh. Kiki Remsky, like Steven, was there ever a time when you were footloose and fancy free? I'm all alone and fancy free. There was a time when I was definitely not in the... I did not have the level of self-control that I have now. That is absolutely a fact. That's everybody. All people go through this, especially when you're younger. So yeah, there absolutely was a time. I wouldn't say the going out to Vegas situation, but definitely, yeah, there are times in my life, especially when I was younger, trying to figure things out. But I also didn't have someone who was there kind of, who I was telling this to of like, oh, I want to do this, this, and this, saying, oh, yeah, no. Ms. Waster, who cares what Europeans think? An actor in a movie that needs to make $1 billion to break even, who knows this movie's probably not going to make it. And so, hey, let's try to make as much money as we possibly can. Steven, you remind me of Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince when he said, everything that feels good is wrong. Everything. You got that? But anyways, yes, I appreciate your wisdom and advice. And I wouldn't be frank. I'm not saying that. I see the connection there. But no, feeling good is a good thing. But just because you do feel good does not mean that it is the right thing or that it is good for you. Jimmy A. Anthony Mackie is a pretty smart guy, in my opinion. When asked if Red Hulk represents Trump, he basically said to people, chill the F out, enjoy the movie. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. People freaked out about that, and I was like, why? He basically just said, hey, let's just not talk about that, and let's just not even make it a thing. I think people overblew that. I think people took both of those comments and tried to turn it and farm it for content and for clicks. That's what I honestly think happened. Abomination, yeah, 99.99% of the audience won't even know he said it. No, they won't. Wendy Hunter saying, I'm sorry for your homework. I am too, because I've not heard good things. Hardwig, Locked now has a release date, March 21st, in a trailer. It stars Bill Skarsgård and is produced by Sam Raimi. If you remember the specific reason, I'm familiar with it. Yes. And then Abomination. Well, foreigners want to see Captain America being the best American. Otherwise, excluding America won't sway them either. I think that most non-Americans, right, because the audience that they're going for are not comic people. You might be correct about comic fans in Europe, but general audiences in Europe, they just want to see a fun action flick. That's what they want to see. That has some sense of continuity with the previous iterations and the previous stories. Kate Remsky, Captain Falcon, dumpster fire. It's probably going to be a massive one. Jimmy A, if people want to talk about virtue signaling, Marvel actors let focus on Simu Liu, Chris Evans, Brie Larson, and Mark Ruffalo, who are actual persons that do this for sure. Hardwick, the Estate of Superman co-creator John Schuster is suing Warner Brothers to block Superman 2025 from being released in the United Kingdom, all British territories over rights issues. Yeah, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for them. I have no context on matters of law in this specific area, so I have no idea if the person has a case or if there's going to be any actual, way of it being enforced or brought about. But it would be funny to me if the whole film got derailed because of it. As you all know, I am not a huge fan of the DCEU as it's been iterated, and especially of James Gunn, who I think made a really great film in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, wrote a very good film. I hated it for certain reasons, but Dawn of the Dead, good writer there. I've heard great things about Slither, some of the other films that he's done, but ultimately, when it comes to the big budget films, he had one really good one. Two that were pretty decent, but only one that was really, really good. Let's see. Luzilla, hello, and how's the family? All are good. Thoughts on $180 million budget reported for Captain America 4. Also, is that a Godzilla figure next to the Criterion Collection? It sure is. Yep. Yep, that is a Godzilla. Lots of Godzilla in here. It all started with the Godzilla -1 poster, and then my son got really into Godzilla, and so I got that Blu-ray set because of the artwork, because I thought that my son would enjoy it. And then that's actually his action figure that he gave to me as a present during the Christmas season, because that's just what he does. All right, we're going to start to wrap things up here, though, as my voice is getting a bit tired, so we're going to wrap it up a little bit earlier than usual. Carl Jacobs saying, speaking of those of us who wore the uniform, pacifism is not a coherent Christian position. Even mostly pacifist is not coherent. I respect that position, and thank you for your service, but at the same time, I would definitely disagree. I think that there are times in our broken world today where we do need to defend ourselves, and that's why there are principles of just war. I would also say the vast majority of wars that are waged, both today and in history, did not match those principles, or at the very least did not consistently maintain those principles, because just war theory is not about justifying entering a war, it's justifying the entirety of the war itself. Geek True 64 saying, I actually agree with you on Mackie. It was poorly worded. It didn't sound great, but context matters. It was overblown. Agreed. And again, I think people took a clip out of his speech and turned something into it. And it's like, come on, guys. Steven, what are your thoughts with immigrants taking over the freeway in Los Angeles and none of them working or buying anything today? I mean, people have a right to protest. I do think that if you broke a law, though, be ready to face the consequences of it, man. We are a country of laws, and those laws do need to be enforced. There's some laws that are unjust, but in the cases that we're currently hearing about, as far as what's being dealt with primarily in first, with it being specifically those that have a previous criminal record beyond just entering the country illegally, I mean, come on. Alice McCarthy, the bright side of becoming quadriplegic, I went from 366 to 189 pounds. I can now fit in large size shorts. My doctor told me to eat ice cream. Dang. That's a good, that's always a good prescription. Hardwood, people have forgotten this quote. I've said before in interviews, it feels more like he should just be called Captain Good. Chris Evans, 2011. Steven, I don't think it is a wise move to have Captain America released on Valentine's Day in my area. Hardly any shows are fully booked or not even halfway. It's a weird, bold choice, God. We'll see if it pays out for them. But yeah, I mean, I think that no matter when you release that movie, it's just not going to do well. Wendy says, have a wonderful evening. Thanks for a great chat. You as well, as we wrap things up here. Hardwick saying, I think that everyone could agree that Yahtzees were bad, and he, Cap, just so happens to wear the red, white, and blue. Also, Chris Evans, 2011. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what Chris Evans is known for in that way. But anyway, that is going to be it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I think we got to all of the things. Open forum conversations, gave my thoughts on Boy Kills World. Really good film. Highly recommend it. It is very violent, though, so be ready for that. And Royal Rumble. Again, one really great match. Two mediocre matches with both bad finishes, I would say, in the both of the Rumbles. The Women's Rumble, I think, was actually a better handled one, but still, both had issues. And I would also point out that, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Boy Kills World is a really, really good movie that's well worth your time. And as is also voting in the Raven Awards. And so if you've been paying attention to Heimdall, he has been posting all of the links that you need to submit your ballot. But also go to OMBReviews.com to get access to that as well. Oh, that's right. I just remembered. And you had a tag team match at the Royal Rumble. Best 2 out of 3 falls. Should have been so much better. They, for some reason, just were not being given enough to really make that thing a classic. It should have been a tag team classic match, a la the early days of Triple H's NXT, when you had some of the best tag teams in the world. You think back to, FTR, and all the things that they were able to do. Man, it's sad. Steve, do you think we'll have Ryan WrestleMania this year then? I mean, I think it's going to be Jay and Gunther. I don't think they're deviating from that. I would hope that they do, but Steven, do you think we will ever see CM Punk win a Royal Rumble or even headline WrestleMania? We might, and I think that's the thing, is that John Cena has made this huge push to say, this is my last time to get my record-breaking championship. He's already announced for Elimination Chamber. I would not be surprised if either. I think the two top choices for Elimination Chamber specifically are going to be CM Punk and John Cena. Because if you have CM Punk, John Cena as the final two, a lot of history between those two characters. And then if you have John Cena lose, that's it. And the fact that he's already been so part-time, remember, the whole thing was, guys, I'm coming back next year, and I'm committing, and I'm going to be there more often. And he really hasn't been. He's been very MIA for most of this, last and final run. So don't be surprised to see him, push for these events, trying to get eyeballs on the events, trying to push this idea forward, ultimately just for it to have been a farce to actually try to prop up somebody else. That's what I think is likely going to happen. So don't be surprised, again, to see CM Punk versus Cena in Elimination Chamber at some point, maybe even the final two. And I would not be surprised to see CM Punk win that. If the main event seriously is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Gunther, I have no interest in watching that. Cthulhu, the problem with Mackie is not his heart. It is that he has no one around him guiding him. The greatest sin is not giving the support to those around you. Pray for him. Absolutely pray for him, for sure. Will he go 12 rounds? Stevie, do you think Cena will break? Again, what were you not listening to what I just said? I said that I I could see either one happening of him either going to WrestleMania. If Cena is in WrestleMania, I do think he wins. I hope he doesn't. He doesn't deserve it. He's a vastly overrated wrestler. The fact that he even has 16 titles is stupid. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And you know I was trying to wrap up, so how dare you ask more questions. Anyway, you guys are all amazing, beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Please make sure you vote in the Raven Awards. And I need to go rest my voice now. So anyway, have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. And as always, excuse me. Wow, no way Cena does. Oh, absolutely, he does not deserve it. Bro, he's been overrated his entire career. Everything about him was completely manufactured. Everything about him was completely manufactured. And then when finally people woke up to that, he got booed to hell for that very reason. And the only reason why he's being jeered now is because he made a life for himself outside of the WWE. People have been able to look at him more as a gimmick and as a joke. And again, he's also someone that has done a lot for our troops and a lot for the Make-A-Wish. So I think people are, if anything, cheering for that. He was never good in the ring. His mic skills were cringe. Again, dude, no, I'm sorry. Please do not defend Cena. You're never going to win that battle here. Harvick saying, so in other words, you can't see what's going on with John Cena. Exactly. All right. Anyway, you guys are great, except for takes like that. But have a great night, everybody, as always. God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illick and Miss Martin Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Martin Muses. Also to my Subscribe Star people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And also to the K-Man. Check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. Shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started. And also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing, and beautiful people, have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.